River spirit, if you really exist, make me beautiful so that men can love me and marry me. I am tired of being ignored. I can give you a beauty that no one in this village has ever seen. Your face will attract all eyes. Men will pursue you like butterflies pursue light. And the love you ask for will come too. But each gift of the spirits must be balanced. When your first child will come into the world, it will belong to me. And if I never have children, then I would have nothing to take. I accept.
A wave broke out of the water and smashed the face of Hadisewa. The water was frozen. When she opened her eyes again, the luminous silhouette was already disappearing in the river. Her voice resonated one last time in the night. The pact is sealed. In a small village located near a large sacred river lived a young woman named Hadisewa. The village was surrounded by palm trees, red dirt paths, and small clay houses, where families lived according to ancient traditions. In the center of the village was the big tree, under which the elders met every evening to tell stories and judge the affairs of the village. But among all the young women who passed under this tree, Hadisewa was the one that no one really noticed. She was very thin, almost fragile, as if the wind could bend her. Her skin was very dark, as deep as the night, so dark that some people compared her to the wet earth after the rain. Her ears were large and slightly off, which always attracted children's mocking eyes. She had big, full lips and a short little nose, which gave her face an appearance that many considered strange. In this village, where beauty was celebrated during festivals and ceremonies, Hadisewa did not look like the girls that men admired. The other young women had full silhouettes, thin faces, and features that the elders called the features of blessed women. They wore colorful necklaces, sparkling rings, and walked with the confidence of those who knew that they were admired. Hadisewa, she, always walked a little behind. When young men came back from the fields or the market, their eyes were always on other girls. They laughed with her, accompanied them to their house, and sometimes promised them marriages. But no one ever made these promises to Hadisewa. At the market, some women murmured as they watched her pass by. This girl is too thin, and her skin is too dark. What man will want her? Even if she spoke softly, Hadisewa almost always heard their words. She pretended not to listen. Every morning, she got up very early to help her mother. She swept the yard, went to get water from the river, and helped to prepare meals. Hadisewa, she, worked more than many other village girls. But despite her kindness and patience, no one spoke of her as a future wife. Years passed, and little by little, all the girls of her age began to get married. In the evening, when the drums resounded in the village to celebrate a new marriage, Hadisewa often stayed alone in front of the family house. She watched the lights of the parties in the distance while the songs and laughter crossed the night. Sometimes, she looked at herself in a small mirror made of polished metal that her mother kept in a box. She observed her long face, her big ears, her thick lips, her dark skin that absorbed the light. And a question always came back to her heart. Why couldn't anyone see something beautiful in her? The elders of the village often said that each person was born with a destiny. But Hadisewa began to believe that hers was simply to be forgotten. One evening, after another wedding party to which no one had invited her, she sat alone near the path that led to the market. The wind gently moved the leaves of the palm trees, and for the first time in her life, a dangerous thought crossed her mind. If men couldn't love her, maybe there were other forces capable of changing her destiny. She didn't know it yet, but this thought was soon going to lead her to the holy river. A few days after that night when a dangerous thought had crossed her mind, life continued in the village as if nothing had changed. The sun still rose on the clear roofs. Women were walking toward the market with their baskets on their heads, and the children were running in the dusty paths laughing. But in Hadisewa's heart, something had started to move. That morning, she had left very early to sell some vegetables at the market. The village market was still lively. Stalls filled with red peppers, tomatoes, yams, and colored fabrics lined under large canvases to protect themselves from the sun. Women were walking quietly, sellers were shouting their prices, and the air was filled with the smell of spices, dried fish, and damp earth. Hadisewa had placed her vegetables on a small table on the ground. As usual, customers passed in front of her to buy from other more famous sellers. She watched the people passing by without saying anything, used to being ignored. Around noon, when the heat became heavier and customers began to become rare, she got up to go get water from the large jar behind the stalls. That's when she heard a conversation. Two old women were sitting in the shade of a mangrove. Their voices were low, but their tones were serious. Hadisewa didn't intend to listen, but some words caught her attention. "The river is not just water," one of them murmured. The other slowly raised her head. "Our mothers have always told us, this river is inhabited." Hadisewa stopped behind the jar, still holding her calabash in her hands. "Inhabited by what?" asked the first woman. The second looked around her before answering. "By an ancient spirit, older than the village itself." Hadisewa's heart began to beat a little faster. The old women continued to speak, as if they were sharing a forbidden secret. "Is it said that this spirit can offer a lot of things?" "Yes," answered the other, slowly raising her head. "Beauty, wealth, even love." Hadisewa felt her fingers creaking around the calabash. The first old woman rubbed her brows. "If it's true, why don't everyone ask for these things?" The second woman had a little dry laugh. "Because spirits never give without taking." She paused before adding in an even lower voice, "They always ask a price." The wind moved the leaves of the mangrove above her. "What kind of price?" asked the other. The old woman remained silent for a few seconds. Then she simply answered, "The kind of price you regret all your life." Hadisewa felt a thrill run through her back. The conversation continued. The old women explained that the spirit appeared only at midnight, when the moon was perfectly reflected on the surface of the river. But they also added a very important thing. "Is that why the elders forbade young girls to go to the river at night?" "Yes," answered the other, "because some people, when their hearts are filled with desire, forget the consequences." Hadisewa lowered her eyes at the water in her calabash. She knew that what she heard was dangerous. But despite this, the words of the old women continued to spin in her mind. Beauty, love, things she had never known. All afternoon, her mind remained elsewhere. And that night, when the sun went down and the village fell asleep slowly, Hadisewa looked in the direction of the river for a long time. She knew that she shouldn't think about it, but one question refused to leave her mind. What if the old women were telling the truth? To be continued.